Virgo, the first thing you notice is not the apology. It is the silence that precedes it. The heavy, humid silence of a house where the walls have been listening for years and have finally decided to speak. It is the silence that falls across a dinner table when the liar has left the room and the people who remain are left holding the fragments of a story they now know was never true. It is the silence of a family system that has been running on a single toxic narrative for so long that the machinery has rusted shut and someone has just kicked the door open with the truth. And in that silence, Virgo, they are all looking at the empty chair where you used to sit, the chair they let you occupy but never let you belong in. The chair where you were served last, criticized first, and expected to apologize for the hunger that being there never satisfied. They are looking at that chair, and for the first time in the history of their collective memory, they are understanding exactly who made it empty. Their whole family is on your side now. Let those words do their full work inside your body, because they are not merely descriptive, they are seismic. They are the tectonic shift that reconfigures the geography of every holiday, every reunion, every whispered phone call, every group chat, every photograph on the mantle where your face was either erased, diminished, or tolerated as a necessary flaw in an otherwise perfect composition. The family that once functioned as the jury, the judge, and the executioner of your reputation has filed out of the courtroom and is now standing in the hallway, waiting for you, not to beg, not to demand, but to offer something they have never offered before, a collective admission that the verdict was wrong, that the evidence was fabricated, that the witness they trusted was the actual perpetrator, and that you, Virgo, were never the defendant. You were the victim of a trial that should never have been held. The truth is out, not in a whisper, not in a rumor, not in the gradual erosion of a lie that takes years to dissolve. It is out in the open, under the fluorescent light of a reckoning so bright that no one in that family can squint their way back to denial. They have seen the documents, or heard the recording, or witnessed the moment, or simply connected the dots that were always there but that they refused to connect because connecting them would mean admitting their own complicity. And now that the dots form a picture, the picture is devastating. It is you. It is your face. It is your name written across the center of a canvas they painted with your blood while calling it art. And they are sorry. They are so sorry. Not the performative sorry that precedes a request for forgiveness. Not the strategic sorry that is designed to reestablish access to your life. But the gutted, hollowed, spiritually nauseated sorry of people who have just realized that they built their family unity on your back and your back is no longer available to carry them. You need to understand how this happened, Virgo, because the mechanics of a family turning are not the mechanics of an individual awakening. A family is an organism. It breathes through shared stories. It circulates blood through loyalty pipelines that do not question where the blood comes from as long as the body stays warm. And for years, perhaps decades, that body stayed warm by burning you as fuel. You were the designated problem, the scapegoat, the one who was too sensitive, too difficult, too demanding, too different, too much. When the family needed to feel united, they united against your boundaries. When they needed to feel superior, they elevated themselves by diminishing your standards. When they needed to explain their own failures, They pointed to your independence and called it coldness. When they needed to justify their own cruelty, they pointed to your reactions and called them overreactions. You were the pressure valve for a system that could not handle its own pressure. And the person who orchestrated this, the one who stood at the center of the family web, spinning the threads that kept everyone entangled in their version of reality, never expected the web to turn against the spider, but it has. The web has turned, and the spider is now the one trapped. I am seeing the specific moment of exposure with a clarity that makes the air in my own lungs feel thin. It happened in a room you were not in. That is the cruelty and the justice of it. You were not there to defend yourself. You were not there to present evidence. You were not there to argue your case or to cry or to beg for belief. You were absent, finally and completely absent from the theater of their dysfunction, and your absence created a space that the truth rushed in to fill. Nature abhors a vacuum, and so does the conscience of a family that has been lying. The lie required your presence to maintain itself. It required your participation, even if that participation was only your wounded silence, your confused attempts to explain yourself, your presence at the edges of their gatherings, where you could be pointed to as the cautionary tale. Without you there to be the problem had to be renamed. And when they looked around the room and saw who was still standing in the center, still performing, still controlling the narrative, still demanding loyalty while offering none, the renaming began. They named the real problem. And the real problem was never you. Let me tell you what they see now, Virgo, because seeing is the only way to understand the depth of their reversal. They see that you were not the one who broke the family. You were the one who refused to let the family break you. They see that your distance was not abandonment. It was self-preservation from a system that demanded your annihilation as the price of belonging. They see that your standards were not arrogance. They were the minimum requirements for emotional safety in a house where gaslighting was the primary heating source. They see that your silence at the end was not a tantrum. It was the only language left to you after years of having your words twisted into weapons against you. They see that your independence was not a rejection of them. It was the construction of a lifeboat after watching the family ship steer itself toward the iceberg again and again and again. And they see, most devastatingly of all, that the person who told them you were the enemy was the actual enemy. The one who lied about your intentions, the one who exaggerated your flaws, the one who intercepted your love and repackaged it as threat, the one who used your name as a shield for their own inadequacy, a scapegoat for their own failures, a distraction from their own corruption. The family is seeing this now, each member individually and all of them collectively. I am watching it happen in real time across the energetic field. The mother who once called you dramatic for crying at the dinner table is now sitting in her kitchen at 3 a.m. replaying that moment and understanding that your tears were the only honest thing in a room full of performance. She is understanding that she chose the comfort of the lie over the discomfort of your truth, and that choice has calcified in her chest as a regret that is making it hard to breathe. The father who once told you to toughen up, to stop being so sensitive, to learn to take a joke, is now looking at the scars on the family body and realizing that the only jokes being told were at your expense, and that his insistence on your toughness was just his own cowardice dressed as wisdom. The siblings who once competed for the favor of the family's central narcissist by joining in the diminishment of you are now comparing notes in parking lots and over text messages, discovering that each of them was told a different story about you, a customized lie designed to keep them isolated from one another and united only in their contempt for the one person who actually saw what was happening. The aunts, the uncles, the cousins, the in-laws who absorbed the gossip without questioning the source, they are all receiving the transmission now. And the transmission is unanimous. You were right. You were always right. And they were wrong to let anyone convince them otherwise. The truth that is out is not a small truth, Virgo. It is not a single incident or a misunderstanding that can be resolved with a hug and a casserole. It is the architecture of the entire family mythology. It is the revelation that the person they crowned as the stable one, the responsible one, the victim of your difficult nature, was actually the architect of the chaos. It is the discovery of financial betrayal that was blamed on your boundaries. It is the exposure of emotional infidelity that was projected onto your suspicion. It is the uncovering of secrets so dark and so thoroughly buried that their emergence has caused a generational earthquake, and the fault line runs directly through the throne where your abuser once sat. They are finding out that the money was stolen, not mismanaged, that the relationships were sabotaged, not strained, that the narratives were constructed, not observed. And every stone they turn over reveals your footprints underneath, not as the perpetrator, but as the one who tried to warn them, the one who tried to clean up the mess before it became a catastrophe, the one who was banished for naming the mold that has now consumed the entire house. And Virgo, here is what makes this moment unprecedented in the history of family karma. Usually, when a scapegoat leaves, the family closes ranks. They tighten the circle. They agree, explicitly or implicitly, that the departure proves the scapegoat's guilt. They create a story of the one who left as the one who abandoned them, and they use that story to bond more deeply around their shared denial. But that is not what is happening here. The circle did not close. It cracked. The absence of your light made the darkness visible. Without you there to absorb the projections had to land somewhere else. And they landed on the family members who remained. The same cruelty that was once reserved for you began to leak onto them. The same control that was once exercised through your diminishment began to suffocate them. The same lies that were once told about you began to be told about them. And in that shared suffering, they finally understood what you had been enduring. They finally felt the temperature of the water you had been boiling in for years, and their empathy, which had been disabled by the narrative that you deserved your suffering, suddenly switched on with a violence that is now directed entirely at the person who built the fire. They are sorry. I need you to feel the texture of this apology, because it is different from anything you have ever received. The mother is calling relatives she has not spoken to in years to correct the record about you. The father is removing photographs from the wall, not because he is erasing history, but because he cannot stand to look at the faces smiling over your exclusion. The siblings are drafting messages, deleting them, drafting again, trying to find words that do not sound like excuses for their own participation in your pain. They are not asking for your forgiveness yet. They are too ashamed. They are in the stage of apology that is pure, wordless grief. The grief of realizing that they had a saint in their midst and they treated her like a leper. The grief of understanding that their family gatherings were not warm because of the love present, but because of your absence, which allowed them to maintain the illusion that everything was fine. The grief of recognizing that you were the sacrifice, and the altar was built by hands they shook and praised and trusted while they let you bleed. The person who wronged you is watching this happen, Virgo, and the expression on their face is the one you were never allowed to see. It is the look of a monarch who has just been informed that the kingdom has voted to dissolve the monarchy. It is the panic of someone who built an empire on your erasure and is now watching the empire pledge allegiance to the very name they tried to erase. They are calling family members and being sent to voicemail. They are arriving at events and finding that the seats have been rearranged, that the conversation stops when they enter, that the eyes which once looked at them with admiration now look at them with a coldness that mirrors exactly what they tried to make others feel toward you. They are being corrected in public. Actually, that's not what happened. Actually, Virgo was right. Actually, we know the truth now. They are experiencing the specific hell of a reputation collapsing in real time, and there is no defense they can mount because the evidence is not a rumor, it is a mountain. And your name is carved into the summit as the one who was telling the truth while everyone else was building the lie. I am seeing their private breakdown, Virgo. I am seeing it with the intimacy of a camera placed in a room where they believe they are alone. They are raging first, raging at the family for their betrayal, raging at you for your resilience, raging at the universe for allowing the truth to surface when they had worked so hard to bury it. They are throwing objects or screaming into pillows or driving too fast on empty roads, trying to outrun the reality that they are no longer the protagonist of the family story. They are the villain now. And the title fits with a precision that is making them physically ill. They are vomiting, or they will vomit, because the body cannot process the toxicity of being exposed. The immune system of the family has identified them as the infection, and they are being rejected by the very host they thought they controlled. Then comes the bargaining. They are drafting apologies they will never send, or they are sending them and they are being left on read, or they are being shared in the family group chat as evidence of how little they understand the magnitude of what they did. They are offering to change, offering to explain, offering to make amends, offering money or time or tears or whatever currency they believe might purchase their way back into the warmth they took for granted. But the family is not buying. The family has already spent their emotional budget on you retroactively, and there is no surplus left for the person who drained the account. The family is protecting you now, actively, deliberately. They are forming a wall around your memory and your reputation that is made of their own remorse, and that wall is impenetrable to the manipulations that once worked so well. And here is the twist that I have never seen before in any reading, any channel, any karmic configuration. The family is not just apologizing, they are organizing. They are becoming a unit of restoration. I am seeing them collaborate on something that is designed to honor you, a gift, a gesture, a public acknowledgement, a correction of the record so formal and so visible that it functions as a monument to your vindication. They are pooling resources to create a foundation in your name, or buying property they want to deed to you, or planning a gathering where you are the guest of honor and the person who wronged you is explicitly not invited. They are competing with one another to demonstrate who is most sorry, who sees most clearly, who is most committed to ensuring that no one in the family ever again treats you the way they allowed you to be treated. It is not healthy, this competition. It is born of guilt, but it is real, and it is directed entirely toward your elevation. They are contacting you, Virgo, or they are about to. The messages are being composed in the notes apps of phones across the family tree. The cousin who never defended you is writing a paragraph about how they always knew something was off. The sibling who joined in the mockery is drafting a confession so long it reads like a dissertation on their own shame. The parent who failed to protect you is preparing to arrive on your doorstep, or your digital doorstep, with an offering that is meant to symbolize the restoration of a bond they severed. They are all coming, not in a coordinated invasion, but in a wave of individual reckonings, each one carrying the specific flavor of their own regret, each one hoping that you will see their particular apology as the one that matters most. And you, Virgo, are going to have to decide what to do with this avalanche of sorry. Your first instinct will be to armor up, to protect yourself from the possibility that this is another performance, another manipulation, another chapter in the book of family dysfunction where you are temporarily elevated so that you can be more devastatingly dropped later. That instinct is wise. It has kept you alive. It is the instinct of the scapegoat who learned that the fatted calf is sometimes just bait. But I am here to tell you that this time is different. Not because the family has become trustworthy. Trust is not rebuilt by apologies. Trust is rebuilt by years of consistent behavior, and you do not owe them the time required to earn it back. This time is different because you are different. You are no longer the person who needed their validation to survive. You are no longer the child who stood in the corner of the kitchen hoping that if she was just quiet enough, just helpful enough, just invisible enough, they would eventually love her correctly. You are an adult who built her own house, who furnished it with her own integrity, who heated it with her own self-respect. And their apologies are not arriving at a door that is desperate to open. They are arriving at a fortress that is simply observing the weather. You do not have to accept their apologies. You do not have to forgive them. You do not have to attend their gatherings, answer their messages, or pretend that the past can be erased by the sudden arrival of their guilt. You can let them be sorry without letting them back in. You can acknowledge their transformation without becoming responsible for their healing. You can say, I see that you now understand. That does not change what I need to do for myself. And that, Virgo, is the most powerful response you can offer, not because it punishes them, but because it honors you. It honors the you who survived without their belief, the you who thrived without their support, the you who became everything they said you could not become, alone, in the dark, while they were sharing meals in the light of a lie. The person who wronged you is going to try to intercept these apologies. They are going to try to poison the well again, to remind the family of your flaws, to reframe your vindication as your manipulation, to cast you as the puppet master who orchestrated their downfall. But the family is no longer listening. The spell is broken. The enchantment that allowed one person to dictate the reality of an entire group has been dispelled by the truth, and truth is a stubborn thing. It does not respond to new lies. It simply sits in the center of the room, heavy and immovable, and dares anyone to try to move it. The family has tried to move it. They have pushed against it with denial, with excuses, with the desperate desire to go back to the way things were, and they have failed. The truth has won. And in the kingdom of the truth, you are the rightful heir. I am seeing your future with this family, Virgo, and it is not a return to the old table. It is a new table, a smaller table, A table where the seats are reserved for those who have proven they can see you clearly. Some members of the family will earn a seat over time. Others will remain in the outer darkness of their own guilt, not because you banish them, but because they cannot yet face the brightness of your unshadowed presence. And the person who wronged you, they will be at a different table entirely, a table for one, a table where they are forced to eat every lie they ever told about you, and the meal is endless, and the hunger is permanent, and the only sound is the echo of a family that once enabled them and now speaks your name with the reverence they once reserved for their false idol. The truth is out. The family is on your side. The apologies are coming like rain after a drought that you survived by digging your own well. Let them fall. Let them soak into the ground of a life that no longer needs their moisture to bloom. You are not the prodigal daughter they are welcoming home. You are the queen they are finally recognizing in her own castle, and the castle gates open only at your command. Stand at the window. Watch them gather in the courtyard. Do not rush down. Let them wait. Let them feel the weight of your absence as the price of their education. And when you are ready, if you are ever ready, descend not as the forgiven, but as the foregone conclusion of a justice so long delayed that its arrival feels like the end of an era. Because it is. The era of your diminishment is over. The era of your dynasty has begun. Let them witness it from whatever distance you decide they have earned. The door is yours, the name is yours, the truth is yours, and now, finally, the family knows it too.